This series presents information based in part on theory and conjecture. The producer's purpose is to suggest some possible explanations, but not necessarily the only ones to the mysteries we will examine.
Tired of watching other people having fun on the screen and wondering what it would be like if it was you rather than them? Well, now you can, and at the same time give yourselves a super memento of your relationship. Now you can be in the picture. Paul and Jessica will come to your home and videotape you and your loved one in your most intimate moments. Then they'll play it back on your own TV set and finally hand you the tape right there and then. What a turn-on. What a memory. Productions range from a simple black and white session to a full-scale production in color, edited to music. And best of all, prices start at $50.
Hi, I'm Jerry Lewis. On March 12th at 8:30 p.m. at the Coliseum Theater, 9th and Clement, San Francisco, there will be a special benefit preview of my new film, Don't Raise the Bridge, Lower the River. It'll be for the benefit of the Blind Babies Foundation. The foundation takes care of 175 blind children in Northern California. Every penny that you donate will go to the Blind Babies Foundation. Oh, by the way, I'll be there in person to say hello, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all. Thank you very much.
When you get sued above your policy, if you have a policy, then you're going to have to contact a lawyer.
Right.
I don't handle cases like that.
Right. But then, is it possible in any way then to sue you people?
Sue who?
You. I'm asking you for help.
Sue who? Me?
Yes.
Why you want to sue me?
Well, I'm trying to explain. I had a terrible accident.
What's that got to do with me?
Well, I'm asking you for help, and maybe I could sue for punitive damages that you're giving me.
I'm giving you?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
What'd I do to you?
Well, punitive damages here.
I'm a lawyer. What did I do to you?
The sidecar smashed into a pole and everything. I'm trying to explain this to you.
What's that? You want to sue me?
Well, why not?
Me?
Sue everybody.
Dearborn Heights Emergency?
Yeah, can you please send rescue? I think I'm having an overdose at the store with my wife.
Okay, you and your wife?
Yes.
Overdose of what?
Marijuana, but I don't know if it had something in it.
Okay.
Can you please send rescue?
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 29 years old, and my wife is 26. Please come.
26?
Yes, please.
Have you guys been drinking also?
What?
Have you guys been drinking today too?
No, that's it.
No, and is there any weapons in the house?
No, please come.
Okay, we're on our way. Do you guys have fever or anything?
No, I think we're dying.
Okay, how much did you guys have?
I don't know. We made brownies, and I think we're dead. I really do.
Going to break the news. It's still going on, but not with the same, I don't know. I don't even want to put a word in there.
Well, what I'm hearing, what I read, is that the experts are saying that herd immunity is very unlikely at this point because the U.S. is about, 30% vaccinated right now?
Fully vaccinated.
Fully vaccinated. But the numbers are dropping so rapidly that they're extrapolating that we'll be nowhere near whatever 75, 78%, whatever it is that they require. Now, herd mentality, yes, we have that.
Yes. I think it's lunacy that people aren't getting vaccinated, but that's my opinion. You know what they say about opinions and other things.
Well, sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong. I mean, an opinion about a world health crisis, I think it stops becoming an opinion at a certain point.
The thing is, yes, it did happen so much faster than anything else has in the past, but it was necessary, and it was tested, and people have had them for a year. It's fine. It's fine. Nothing is 100%, but I think, especially with these additional variants that are coming out, it just doesn't make sense. I was shopping last week, getting stuff for the house, and I'm in a store, and I see these two gals, probably 20 feet from me, and I used to work with them. And through Facebook, I knew that their belief system on the whole thing was quite different than mine, but nonetheless, one of them was nicer about it, just kinder in her views, kind of things. The other one was a little more straightforward, and we'll just leave it at straightforward.
Okay.
But any place that you go, here, it says face coverings are required to enter the store. Well, they must have taken that very literally. Okay, I'll put it on while I enter, but then it's coming off. I mean, not even pushed down under their chins, not hanging off one ear, just off completely. And I did speak to, kind of forgetting that I had a mask on, and that idea that I'm approaching you, we're going to be near by each other, we'll probably recognize each other. So I'm like, hey, the one gal and I had a pleasant exchange about decorating houses and what we're looking for. The other gal didn't even utter a word. But then I found out she's been playing some dirty pool with an independent business that we're both involved in. We're not involved directly with each other. She was calling people that are working with me, one person that I know for sure, which tells you there's probably more, and said, you should switch your business over to me, which is an absolute and utter no. I could report her, but I don't think I will. So there's two different things. It's just wear a mask when you're in the store.
Now, is this somebody that I know? No names, but
No.
Okay.
So one, just wear a mask when you're in the store. If that's what they want. For everyone else, just wear the dang mask. And two, don't play dirty in business. It will come back to find you.
About the masks, I mean, it's a momentary inconvenience, and that is what it comes down to. And we've seen now that 40% of our fellow citizens, our neighbors, are adamant that they will not inconvenience themselves in the slightest. So now we know. I mean, it really isn't about any. I don't think that the people who are not wearing masks now are taking any sort of evidence into that decision. It isn't like, well, somebody says you don't need man. They're adamant. It's a cult. They believe what their cult leader told them. That's it. End of story.
You would think the evidence of cases of the flu this year, or lack thereof, would give them some indication that perhaps there is something to this, because children were still attending school part of the time. And I don't know about where you are, but there were not a whole lot of precautions taken other than masks and some distancing. Our schools have been pretty good. I don't want to make it sound bad, but people are still going to the grocery stores. People were still going and doing a lot of other things. There wasn't flu like there had been in the past. But I got to switch gears real quick. Did you hear about Bill and Melinda divorcing?
I did. So how does this work? Does Melinda get half of our brain-chipped souls?
I don't know.
From the 5G? Or I mean, how do they split that up equitably? Because, I mean, we're all zombie slaves to the gates. We know that, right? Because of the 5G that they slipped into the vaccine. So the big question is, who gets what? I mean, is it like she gets the houses and the dogs and Bill gets the mind control? I don't know how that works.
I don't know. Well, you figure the now ex-Mrs. Bezos actually only got $35 billion out of their divorce, but I don't know if she was involved as much. The bigger concern is the philanthropic works that they do. Now, they've already committed billions, and apparently reading and watching all of these things today, last year they gave nearly $5 billion, $5 billion, which some might say compared to the amount of money that they have, that may not be a whole lot, but they've committed, 80-90% of their worth to the foundation upon their passing. I can't imagine that they would stop. And I think that they'll both be financially okay when it's all said and done. And as well as children.
Yeah, they'll be back on someone's feet before too long.
I think it's kind of sad. They've been married for 27 years. I don't know how long they were together beforehand. But together, they've done a lot of really good work through the years. Some people agree with them, some don't. But instead of just sitting back having fancy parties, raising money, they went out and got actively involved.
Right. My memory of Gates is that he was a rat. Did he used to be a rat and then he became good? Or did the media stop treating him that way and now he's kind of a saint? You know what I mean? I mean, I don't like the product that he came up with or that he helped. I don't like Microsoft. So there's that. But wasn't he one of these guys that people would hold up as being, a vampire and the reason we're in the mess that we're in? People like Gates?
Well,
is that just
some do, but you know who they are.
Well, no, I don't mean those people. What I mean is like in the general media, like my impression, as I think most people's impressions are based mostly on what the media feeds us. So my only impressions of him through the years, again, not as an Apple guy, I wasn't enamored of his product, but I always thought of him as a bad guy. I'm trying to think of somebody who, like Elon Musk is somebody like that too, who's the media totally created this mythos that he's this cool guy, that he's this, oh man, he smokes weed with Joe Rogan, he's all right. He gets on 4chan every now and then, he's one of us. And he's
Yeah, he is.
he made money off of diamonds, off of slavery, literal slavery.
Blood diamonds.
He ain't a nice guy. And what do you think he wants to do on Mars? I mean, he wants to colonize Mars because there won't be rules about slavery up there.
How about let him go up there, hang out for 3-6 months, see what he gets, just bring some of his own people.
Gates was never cool. He was never presented as a cool guy, obviously. You know, you look at his haircut, you look at, you know, he's the genius who doesn't even know what he looks like, that kind of thing.
Doesn't care what he looks like.
Exactly. Who's got time for it? It's the Einstein thing. It's like, who has time to brush your hair, right?
Doesn't matter.
Theorems. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm just curious if he at some point did, because he does obviously, like you said, with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they do amazing work, and they continue to do amazing work, literally saving lives.
They've gotten a lot of other wealthy people. They're the ones who got Warren Buffett involved. They were doing enough work that a junior executive program started at their company, where this group of junior executives, following following the example of Bill and Melinda Gates, started their own foundation. So it's had a nice ripple effect, as one hopes it would. When it comes to profession, of course, there's control of the product. You can't mix and match. You can't use a hodgepodge. It's Microsoft and Microsoft. So there's that.
Yeah, almost every job I've had, I've used Windows. But in my personal life, I use Apple. And it's night and day. I don't quite understand why Microsoft hasn't caught up to Apple as far as like user friendliness or whatever you call it. Windows is still just a pain in the neck for everybody.
I think it's still just such personal preference.
Well, I taught myself how to use a computer with Windows. So then once I discovered Apple, when I was about to buy my first computer, I really didn't know anything one way or the other. All I knew was like, well, there's VHS and there's Beta. You got two choices. So I called my friends and said, what should I get? And I had this friend who was adamant. He said, I don't care if you listen to me for anything else, but you have to buy a Mac. That's just it. You've got to buy a Mac. And I was still waffling. And then I get a phone call out of the blue, and it's him. And he says, hang on a second. And he hands the phone to somebody else. Somebody I don't even know, a complete stranger, who says, Lee, you have to buy a Mac. Like they coerced somebody into. So I did. So I bought a Mac, and I've never looked back. I mean, obviously they're way more expensive, so there's that.
Yeah, you think that could be a determining factor for a lot of people, and it is. Sometimes you just can't afford something.
Absolutely. From my perspective, living in New York, I have the ease of Craigslist. So you've got the secondary market, and what I do. The Mac that I'm recording this podcast on is probably 10 years old, but it was refurbished. It's running the latest software. It's no problems. I suppose if a 14-year-old came in here and saw it, they would laugh at it, but that's really the only downside. Perfectly functioning computer, and I got it for $120, and it's a MacBook. Yeah. Now, that's affordable, and that'll last me. It's already lasted me 6 months. It'll probably last a couple of years. And at that point, I get another one for it. I mean, I don't even know. I guess out of the box, a Mac is probably at least $2,000, right? You're talking?
No, you can get them for $900, $1,000, $1,200.
It's still a lot more than you can get. I do understand the price thing, and like I said, I have the luxury of being in a market that's got a huge secondary market because of Craigslist.
Well, we have Craigslist, but I don't get on it.
It isn't just about Craig. I mean, it's about having the.
Yeah.
I mean, you've only got. So many yard sales to work with.
Dude, we have Craigslist.
No. Oh, do you have Google? Because I'm finding a lot of people on the internet don't seem to have.
Never heard of it.
A lot of people I argue with on the internet don't seem to have Google. Yeah. It's really funny.
Ha ha ha. No, I used to do all of my desktop design on a Mac. I had a really nice Mac system, nice scanner, the whole thing. Stopped doing a lot of design and was doing more regular business, and I couldn't really interface with a whole lot of people. The Mac, they didn't want to talk to each other, so I went with other systems.
I know gaming was a big issue too, which was a moot point for me because I'm not a gamer, but I think now they've sort of caught up, so people do use Mac. But my understanding was it was like designers use Mac. Yep. Yeah, definitely film editors. I mean, movies that we see, like Godzilla vs. Kong was probably edited on a Mac. Well, maybe not that, but you know what I mean. It's yeah, people in the industry use it, but
it just seemed like they were designed for those different areas.
Right.
Conquer one.
Once again, the best news stories happen on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. And last Wednesday, I think it was, the FBI raided the home and office of Razzie Award-winning actor Rudy Giuliani.
But it was all
And-
illegal. Just ask him.
Well, Trumpy said it was very unfair. It was
Which
very unfair.
then tells you that it was very unfair.
Now, this apparently the FBI had applied for the warrant, the no-knock warrant, during Bill Barr, and guess what Bill Barr said? No can do. Sorry, can't do that. So this has been in the works for quite a while, isn't it?
They said that they talked to him in 2019 and warned him, the FBI did, that the Russians were trying to use him in electoral stuff, and he brushed all that aside. And then it turns out all these guys that he had all these dealings with, the one guy is still active in the KGB, or the, what do they call it now? And it's kind of like, how did you not know? You knew. You knew precisely what you were doing, and you just hoped that maybe Trump would win again, and you would just continue, and that he would just continue to get away with this.
They were all counting on it. That's why they kept racking up the crimes. They knew, because they had plans, including the last-ditch Hail Mary, which was the insurrection on the 6th. But they had a plan. He's probably still wondering what happened.
Brendan Hunt got convicted on, there were 4 counts. He was convicted on 1 for threatening the lives of Congress, members of Congress. He had actually even put a videotape of himself or more out on Facebook talking about his plans, but then he took it down the next day, it or them. He was on different platforms. He was also on Parler, of course. A couple of things, took them down and tried to say that these were drug-induced rants. He wasn't serious. He was just saying all this stuff, but apparently it was credible enough, and he's facing up to 10 years in maximum security prison.
Good for him. It was just a joke. Come on, it's a joke.
Have you people no sense of humor?
People
I
say
don't
that
know when someone's threatening my life. No, I guess I don't.
Yeah. Anytime anybody says it was a joke, the correct thing to do is to say, okay, well, explain the joke. What's the premise? What's the premise of the joke?
And what's the punchline? Because I missed it.
Yeah. The only downside to the Rudy thing is you would expect that he might flip on Trump, but I don't think there's any chance he's going to flip on Trump because, frankly, Rudy is probably deeper in with the Russian mob, or at least as deep as Trump is. So you don't want to pull on that string. You don't want to unravel that.
No.
He would be silenced.
He was able to travel and take the meetings with these people, have all of the contact with them that, I don't even want to say his name anymore, that the other person wasn't.
Right.
That allowed these people more access to him, and kind of as the little conduit, you tell me what you want, I'll pass it on. You tell me what you want, and I'll pass it the other direction.
Rudy's been deep in with these guys forever. I mean, he gets credit for breaking up the mob in New York, the Italian mob.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was a hard-nosed prosecutor, etc. Well, the reality of it is, either by design or by accident, getting rid of the Italian mob just paved the way for the Russian mob to move in. Now, I don't know that was intentional. A lot of people are saying it was intentional, but it sure worked out that way. You know, you can trace Rudy's dealings with those guys back to the 80s, which I think is when Trump was first approached by them, to like 84, when he became an operative or whatever.
This might get some more research.
It's definitely I saw a timeline on some Reddit thread. Somebody put a timeline together that's just it's exhaustive, and it goes from I think it's around 84 is when all this stuff started happening, when Trump I think it was when he first took what was his pageant? Miss USA? It wasn't Miss America. The Miss USA pageant? Miss Universe? Was that Trump's?
Miss USA and then Miss Universe.
That's okay. So he took whatever that was. He took it to Russia, and that was when apparently he started getting in deep. But it all kind of it's curious how it all ties together, and all these people kind of started at the same time with the same people, and there aren't too many dots to connect really.
No.
But
it's not tough to connect. It's just that money and power, or saying you have all kinds of money because your dad did, and maybe you did, but you blew it all. You just keep saying it enough.
In that world, I think the illusion of money is the same as money.
Yes.
Because it isn't like anybody's going to look in anybody's wallet. You know who we lost this week? Does the name Billy Hayes ring a bell? Not to be confused with Billy Mays, who was the former crackhead pitchman Not to be confused with Mike Lindell, the present-day crack-addicted TV spokesperson. Anyway, Billy Hayes.
Tucking 101. Actually, I think he's in 98C.
Billy Hayes was. Do you remember HR Puffin Stuff? Saturday mornings.
Of course I do.
Of course, right. Kroft Brothers. Well, Billy Hayes was Witchy Poo, the witch.
Oh.
Yeah. And she was also in Lidsville. That was the Kroft Brothers follow-up to Puffin Stuff with Butch Patrick from the Munsters as a little kid. Charles Nelson Riley was a magician. Butch Patrick
He's funny.
fell into the. Oh, Charles Nelson Riley? Yeah. Oh, he's at
Yes, he
peak
is.
form. He's in peak form in this one. According to Butch, he was constantly like chasing him around the set, but I don't want to go into that stories. But yeah, so Billy Hayes was the genie in that one. Do you remember the genie?
Dun, 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 dun.
Not that genie. No, that's the other
I
genie. This is the. I think the genie's name was Genie, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
but when you think of genies, where did your brain?
Oh, of course. Oh, of course. Of course. Little sidebar. I met the cast of I Dream of Jeannie when the DVD came out. They had a little signing at I think a Barnes and Noble. Larry Hagman and Barbara Eden, and I met Bill Daly a little bit later and had him sign as well. But here's the peculiar thing: this was probably at least 15 years ago, and the way they had it set up was the table where Larry and Barbara was they had cordoned off an area about 10 feet in front of it. So you couldn't get within, I'd say, about 20 feet of Barbara Eden.
Wow.
For photographic purposes. I believe the thing is she had a significant amount of work done, and she feels that she has an image that she wants to keep up, and she, I guess, wants us to think that she's still 28, which is kind of silly.
No.
Pretty aware that she's not 28, but
We used to in college have fantastic Halloween parties. And I went, having a long blonde ponytail, looked for genie costume. Year after year, we had some really great costume shops in town. Never could find a decent genie costume.
wow.
And do you remember the big thing about her costume? Had to cover her belly button.
Right, because that would drive people crazy, wouldn't it?
It could. It could.
You know, we were kids when we watched that show, when it was on a lot. But
You
doesn't
mean
it
when we
seem-
watched it in reruns?
we watched it, right?
20
it was-
years later.
That's probably true. Exactly. Yeah, on Netflix. We saw it on Netflix. But that and Bewitched, I think we're on like right after school, like in the 4 o'clock to 4:30, 4 to 5 time slots. So they were always on. But why? Okay, the premise of the show is that Barbara Eden is literally a genie, pops out of a bottle, right? And
And
Larry
it was very
Hagman.
nice bottle.
Very nice, beautiful bottle. Larry Hagman is an astronaut, and because he's the one who summons her from the bottle, she's forever his slave. All right, and she's more than willing to do anything within his heart's desire.
I don't like that word. I wouldn't give it that word.
Isn't it funny that the show never went there? You know, it almost makes you wonder. I mean, obviously it was the '60s; they couldn't, really go there. But, or am I mistaken? Maybe.
Where is the there that you're trying?
Well, look, it's if you deconstruct it, it's kind of a complicated, possibly problematic scenario in the first place, isn't it? I mean, she's literally his slave. Although she's not human. She's not human, right?
I don't see. I wouldn't use that word because there isn't the typical idea of labor, or she didn't clean his house. There wasn't a personal forced relationship.
Well, she could just clean his house with just like a wiggle, couldn't she? Like wiggle her nose or something, and the whole thing?
No, that was Bewitched.
Bewitched.
She
okay.
did the arm cross head bob.
Okay. Well, still, but it's the same
And
principle,
the ponytail
right?
was very handy.
And boom, the dishes are done, right? It's not like she had to really do anything. No offense, but
I don't like that word. I'm not going to.
did they?
Not going to sign on to that word with you. I'm just simply not.
Okay, wait, okay, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe at the end of the series, did they get married? I think they might have. I think they finally
I know they fell in
caved.
love. They
Okay,
fell
see,
in love, but
they find, but
I
what
don't
I'm
know
saying,
how it ended up coming to fruition.
Mhm. From what I remember, the genie that Billy Hayes plays in Lidsville was a male genie for some reason. Do you remember that? They called him
I don't
him.
even remember the show.
You don't remember? Okay. If you think that H.R. Pufnstuf is trippy, and it is, Lidsville is like double trippy. Charles Nelson Riley is a magician, and he's in like a weird monster makeup too. And there's a giant hat, and Butch Patrick falls into the hat, and he falls into Lidsville, which is inhabited by
I get it. A
hats.
hat.
They're all
Lidsville.
exactly.
Lids.
They're all hats. They're all hats. So there's like a cowboy hat character, a nurse's hat character. There's any pretty much every hat, but they live in Lidsville. But for some reason,
Raspberry beret.
it might have been. There should have been. Yeah. And for some reason, the genie, who was like the protector of the kid, Butch Patrick, kept him away from the evil magician, Charles Nelson Riley, who I forget what he wanted to do to him in the show, but I think it was like in Pufnstuf he had a flute, right? He had a magic flute that the Witchy Poo was trying to get her hands on. I think there was maybe something similar to that. Yeah, it's very, very peculiar. I think Billy Hayes was also a small person, not a, dare I say, a midget, not a dwarf, but a midget. Oh, and coincidentally, we also lost Felix Silla a couple weeks ago, who was also in Lidsville. He's most famous for playing Cousin It on the original Addams Family
Okay, now
show.
Now I'm there.
There you go. Okay, yeah, but he's also if you anything from the 70s where there's little people or like people in costumes that are obviously little people, he's one of those guys. He just did everything. I mean, to be fair, there probably were only about 30 of them at any given moment, so they're bound
back to me because it should be.
Of course.
I did a fine Cousin It. I could flip my hair over when it was longer, put sunglasses on. That was always a fun thing when we were out on trips.
Oh yeah, and it's a bowler, and then that's it, right? And then
I didn't have the bowler.
Oh, okay.
This was kind of a spur of the moment.
Right, not really serious about your cosplay, are you?
No. And again, this was years ago. Now my hair's too short to do a good It.
Oh, yeah, it needs to be pretty much to the floor, doesn't it?
Well, it was down past the small of my back and very thick.
Wow.
So that was, we had to call that good enough.
Wow. So is there a character you didn't? See, we talked about Genie. We talked about Cousin It. Who else were you on Halloween?
Shazam actually had a sister.
Oh.
I was her one year. My whole group of friends did superheroes. And I was going to be Isis. I was going to dress up as Isis, but I couldn't find everything that I was looking for. And then somebody was like, well, there's a female Shazam. Okay. I've got the pieces. I can do that.
Was it Ms. Marvel or Miss Marvel? Because Shazam was actually Captain Marvel. There's a whole thing there because there was Captain. That was the original Captain Marvel.
It was Mary Marvel.
Mary Marvel. Okay.
Mary Marvel.
Gotcha. Now I remember.
Yes. Ah. Boy, we had some fun.
I'll bet. What's the last time you did that?
Dressed up for Halloween?
Yeah. Or do you still do it?
No. Oh, I did go to, actually last year. Some friends had a costume party and I couldn't find the stuff that I was looking for. And to wear your gi outside the dojo, unless you're going to and fro, is a no-no.
Right.
But since I'm not actively in training in class right now, I put it on. Blue belt and all.
Oh.
Yeah.
What type of martial art?
Taekwondo.
Ah.
It was funny years and years ago when my son was in a before and after care place. They would have really fun little Halloween parties each year. But we had Taekwondo that night. That time we actively broke the rules. We just wore our gis and went to the Halloween party. All these people thought it was so cute, dressed up, mother and son in these costumes. Nah. Yes, we have class after this, but yes, thank you. He wanted to be a mad scientist and couldn't find a coat for him, so I went to the Goodwill and bought a man's shirt and sewed it in so it would be a lab coat. And we had the blood pills to put all over the coat, but we weren't allowed to have the blood on his coat when he went to the little kids' party. So we had to wait until we left.
Right.
Then we splattered blood all over his lab coat. Fake blood again, people.
Of course. No real children were harmed during the stunt.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, it was a sad day for me when my kids aged out of the whole trick-or-treating thing because I used to Used to go with them and loved it. I mean, Halloween is my thing. You know, it's kind of my my holiday.
Did they ever have trunk or treats?
What is that?
It's a thing that started at some churches, and a gentleman who I worked with, they were having one at his church, and this was the first time I'd ever heard of it, and it's the most amazing thing. Now, we still went through the neighborhood because that's an absolute must. But in the church parking lots, the vehicles, the back end of the vehicles are parked side by side, and everybody has a theme, and they all have different candies. So you just go through this huge parking lot, car to car to car,
Wow.
trick or treat, trick or treat. Holy buckets. Yeah. I
Wow,
mean,
I've never heard of that. That's pretty cool.
it really is. I might have to participate in one of these next few years. They really are fun. And hundreds of kids, I kid you not, go through these things.
Wow. Is that like a way to sort of ensure the safety
Yes.
rather than, you know? Yeah.
But again, we still do the neighborhood. You have to.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah. Not that there aren't psycho people out there, and the possibility is certainly out there, but this whole idea of somebody putting razor blades in candy and stuff like that, that is totally a myth. It comes from one incident, and the incident that happened was a father. The psycho father did it to his own kid because of a custody battle. But the concept of it's literally never happened. I mean, this comes from hospitals. You know, it never was a thing. When the story started, it just like spread. It became one of those urban legend.
Wow.
That to this day people are like, oh, you don't eat apples, don't eat anything that could be, you know.
Well, who's going to give out apples? That's expensive.
Exactly.
Criminally, it's less expensive to buy a big fat bag of candy. Oh, and then we always, growing up, just went around our neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
And we would bring pillowcases, and we didn't go home till the darn thing was almost full.
Yeah.
But now people farm out to certain neighborhoods. They take their kids in the car and they go to the fancier neighborhoods because they give out full-size candy bars.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. We got enough candy where we were.
Yes.
Spoke with one of my friends a little bit ago
Oh, you did.
because I have this great group of friends who go and help each other and just really have fun playing cards and just hanging out together. And I have so many projects here, and there is a deadline. And it seems that as much as I can get done, sometimes some projects just need an extra set of hands or two. And my friends before had been like, yeah, we'll come and help, but I'm not very good at asking for help. As a matter of fact, I stink. Tammy will even tell you that. And I finally just jumped a bit and called one of them. She's like, well, yeah, because I'd half mentioned something before about all this work. Well, if you need help, and I was talking to one of them, and one of the other ones was there. She, at that same time, she said, well, yeah, I'll come and help. So this weekend, and they work hard and they know what they're doing. And so much is going to get done. I'm so excited.
Wow. What kind of work are you talking about?
Oh, outside, there's Tammy's coming back to town. She's going to do the entryway painting.
Nice.
So maybe we'll have to do a quick little session, get Tammy back in. She had so much fun.
That was a great time. I had a great time too.
Side, there's just landscaping galore.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just, should I plant a flower here? Oh, here's a little patch where a grass seed needs to go. No, it's replacing like the decorative logs kind of things. And to say log is a big word. Anyway, whole garden areas that just need to be replaced.
Mm.
A new one that's designed, and I know what I want to do, but I don't have all the pieces. And sometimes you just want another person's insight, because sometimes you can look at something for so long. And I know in one of them, I'm so close to making the wrong choice just to get it done.
Mm.
That I'll put the wrong piece in there just to get it done, which isn't my style at all. I'm the person who, when you are making a garden bed, will measure it perfectly. I will put long plates behind all of the pieces if it's something that's stacked to make sure that they stay right. All of my corners have braces so that nothing moves. So just to get to the point where I'm thinking of shortcutting, not even shortcutting, putting what isn't just the right piece, you know I've reached my limit with that.
It's time to walk away and come back to it, right?
Oh, I have to take down dish soap, and I'm not going to ask anyone else for this, to help with this. Where there are oil spots on the driveway. Now, we're supposed to be getting a whole new driveway, I guess. But that will be ridiculous because, again, I think I've told you that it's a double drive. which is fine. But it also takes a turn. You don't see the garage door. It's on the side. So it's actually like 2 double drives. So it's going to be ridiculous. And if anybody knows anything about me, I have the hardest time parting with money. My mother called me cheap once, and I said I prefer frugal. I'm a bargain shopper. I took a survey. Do you enjoy buying good things for yourself? No. It might be good, but is it on sale? Is it on clearance? Then I might. You want me to pay full price for what? No, I did that once. I didn't feel good about it. I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Frugal is exactly how I would describe myself. I've veered dangerously close to being a cheapskate.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's my advice.
Yeah, there are some things. I work with a lot of essential oils. I use a lot of essential oils. I don't buy them from a store because they're synthetic, no matter what it says, because if it says 100% essential oil, it can have 1 drop in there and then the rest synthetic. No, I don't want that. And I don't like to burn candles, as lovely as they are, because just the wax. Now, beeswax candles don't put the film on your walls, but I can walk away from a diffuser. I left a candle burning one night years ago. Thank goodness it was in a very safe place, and it was a jar candle.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
But this would have been over 10 years ago. And I still have candles sitting in my house, and I don't burn them.
That shocked you into not using candles?
Yes.
Yeah. I can dig that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oils and diffuser. And then I can change whatever I want. Yeah. I can change the scent any time.
Uh-huh.
Let the water run out. Of course, I have so many diffusers.
I'm kind of an incense guy.
Have that too. At my meditation station.
Ah. What's your favorite flavor?
Scent.
Oh, really? You're always... Oh.
Yeah, personally, I don't eat
I've been doing it wrong.
Yeah, you shouldn't eat it. No.
Oops.
I don't know if it's marked on the packaging somewhere.
I think it says do not suffocate. That's as far as I read.
Okay. It depends on morning or night and mood and what my purpose. This morning when I went in, it was sandalwood, which I thought it was dragon fruit since it was early in the day, and I was sitting in the sun. It was coming through the windows. Okay, here it all comes out. I had myself in front of me, not all, and just sat with the sun shining on my face and didn't do a full meditation kind of thing, but just had, and not really mantras. It was a conversation with myself from what all of those would be. And it was wonderful. I see some of the stones right now. There's a great store in town called Eyes of the World. Mm-hmm. I've been shopping there forever. A lot of stuff comes from different areas in the world. But I bought a pot that is probably, it's taller than 2 feet. The thing's gargantuan. For $48, that would have been over $100, and this is even in Midwest speak, would have been over $100 anyplace else. $48. And they're so friendly, and they have the coolest stuff. Do you like cats?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you mean the musical? Or the movie? Or the delicatessen? What are we talking about?
Maybe you'll get just a crazy, super cool thing from
the Familiars?
That's the store that, do you remember when we were talking about the Bigfoot, the ones that Tammy was going to bring home?
Oh, yeah.
The one they have, that's where those things were. And cool raw edge wood furniture. It's from everything to these beautiful handmade headbands with different fabric. The place has almost everything. Wonderful jewelry. It's, prices are amazeballs, so Frugal Mary can walk in.
And hold her head high.
Mm-hmm. And stones, all kinds of different stones. And geodes, beautiful geodes.
Is it like a New Age store? I'm picturing places here that are like that. They're like,
that's where I bought my, now can I say the word? I can see it. Outside clay fire in a metal frame. Except we were moving furniture into the house and somebody knocked it over and broke the inside. So I can still use the metal frame. I'm going to put a beautiful glass ball. What do you call those things? Fire, clay, in a metal. Anyway, it'll come back to me. It'll come to me tomorrow. I'll call everybody. But I'm going to just put that in outside the Zen den. Y'all ought to come over. Kid.
Everybody.
Everybody.
But be quiet, okay? Be very quiet.
Yes, in case you go by the meditation station or inside the Zen den. Of course, the other seating area that by the fire pit, that's also lovely.
You have a fire pit?
I have a fire pit.
Wow.
And I got the new furniture to sit by it. It wasn't, I thought I wanted I keep calling it cubist, because then when I say that, everybody knows what I mean. Just the very square, full, filled in. And that is not, I've been looking at that for months and months and considering that for years. Not at all what I ended up with, which is interesting. But what I ended up with fits that space because the backyard isn't very deep. And I almost wonder if the other stuff would have been too heavy. Or am I just trying to justify it with myself because I purchased something else? And then I'm going to get lovely pieces from Eyes of the World, some other places, and put them on the fence, perhaps paint them other colors, get some solar lights and put them, there's a lattice area. It's just going to be a wonderful place to sit out and read in the evening.
Wow.
And just be very excited.
It sounds that way.
There's an election today, and there's an election party, virtual, of course, to see which of now one of them, we didn't really have anybody in airport authority. And so if we don't have someone from our own party, even if we think somebody is, in fact, that we think a better candidate, we don't endorse anyone, but there's still someone we hope wins in this area. And there's one thing about one of the candidates, and I think I mentioned it before. She, of course, never discusses it. And when this person says, I have 7 children, she gave birth to 8 and all 8 are alive. But one I can't even go into the whole story again.
She disowned one of them? Is that the
Yes.
thing? So she claims she only has
7.
7. Sounds like Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis did that. He disowned all of his, he had 5 or 6 kids with his first wife. Never spoke of them again. Once he got married and then had a couple of other kids, he would just talk about his 2 kids.
That's disgusting.
I know. Yeah. Wow. So is it because they're gay? Is that why? That would be the logical reason to disown them? Or is it?
From what I was told from people in that, yeah.
That would be it, yeah.
And it's how do you stand up and then how do you profess to be a Christian, a person of faith, and have all these other people of faith back you up? With what our governor has done here. He, again, also professes to be such a Christian. The death penalty, the people had voted. The death penalty was out. He didn't like that. So he and his daddy spent a whole bunch of money, got it put back on, and then he got his people that got voted back in. Then they bought illegal drugs from someplace else and won't say where they are, spent $50,000 of the state's money on these things, and then they didn't even pass muster. And then with the children from the border, in that whole situation, federal money was going to be given to each state to take children in. Churches are big around here. People are kind. There would have been enough homes, enough safe havens for these children. He said no, which I talked about before because he didn't want to hurt our kids, save our funds, save our resources for our kids, which they're not trying to do anything to help them anyway.
Right. He literally said we don't want them to hurt our kids, right? Didn't he literally
the
say
word
that?
was hurt or harm.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, how do you, rule number one of the first rules of Christianity is not to judge someone else's Christianity, but I'm wondering, you profess to be pro-life, you're pro-birth, because you're willing to kill somebody, and some people they know commit heinous crimes, and you wonder, financially it's less expensive just to keep someone in prison without the possibility of parole.
Right, not to mention the fact that it's a faulty system and innocent people get executed. There's that.
Exactly. And they have statistics, and I wish I had them with me right now. The number of people that they discover, no, this is far too important. People that they discover are innocent after they've put them to death. But that also makes another person an executioner. Now, when they do the drugs, they have, 2-3 people hitting switches so they don't know who actually sent the lethal doses, someone or something along that ilk. But then you won't help children. It's in a song, and I don't know. I'm not a big Bible quoter, but there's that, whatever you do to the least of my brother, that you do unto me.
I remember that one.
Yes. Jesus loves the little children, all the little children of the world, red and yellow, black and white. They are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world.
I know that song. It's
Yes.
yeah.
And how many more things are out there that would just come to mind that quickly? But yet you're a Christian when it comes to abortion and no other time, regardless of the circumstances. So you aren't pro-life, and you're letting these children suffer. And how do you justify that when there are how many hundreds of thousands of people in the state who are saying, yes, please let them come and stay. We will help them. And one person has the power to say, nope, you do not represent us. Please stop trying to say that you do. You don't.
Right. Well, like everything with the conservatives, they've just co-opted a term and made it be used for the opposite. They're not Christians. They're not following Christianity. They're not following the teachings of Jesus Christ, at least as I understand them, at all.
No.
They're exactly the polar opposite. But they call it Christianity because nobody can stop them, and nobody would dare stop them because religious freedom, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the whole prosperity gospel and all that.
It makes me quite sad because when
yeah.
I go to church on Sunday, and it's the church that I attend, the beautiful celebrations, and it is celebration of faith and joy and brotherhood, helping each other out. How can we be our own community helping a greater community? What can we do? That's how I met these folks, was when I was working on a project for the whole of the community, even in another state that crosses into our state. And they just are so generous with their time, with their energy. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't a matter of convenience, and I'm going to say that I'm a Christian when it comes to this one thing. The rest of the world be damned.
Amen.
That's what I'm talking about. We haven't even discussed Liz Cheney, though, and the fact that she is standing up. We're just on a moral trip today. Morals and ethics. That's the theme today.
If we don't do it, nobody will.
She's standing up. She's telling the truth. And they know it. And she's going to lose her position.
Now, what is it that she said?
That we can't support that lie.
Right, the big lie of... Right, she basically called out all the Republicans who are supporting the big lie that there was election fraud.
And she's admitting that it will be the destruction of the party. Mm-hmm. More or less.
No duh.
And she's a lifelong conservative. Do I always agree with her? Do I agree with her most times? No. But the fact that she's standing up with morals and ethics, and she's going to get shot down because she's not playing. Oh, and Bill Barr's in trouble for misleading the public on the Mueller report.
Oh, right. The judge allowed the unredacted report to be released, right? The
all I see is redacted, and every line is redacted. Anybody who's got the skinny on that, please let us know. Georgia ordered DOJ to turn over memo Barr used to clear Trump of obstruction.
Thank you. That's what it was. The memo. Yeah. So,
Isn't that interesting? National business can be handled by a memo. I don't know. What should we do about this catastrophe crisis? I'm not sure, but I've got this memo. Fantastic. That'll solve it. What should we do? I don't know. I didn't get the memo.
Somebody didn't get the memo.
I didn't get the memo. Boo might have gotten the memo, but if Boo had gotten the memo, he would have shared it with me.
Of course. He would at least BCC you.
Oh, indeed.
Here's a quick one. The movie Grease, right?
Which is fantastic.
Sure. I've seen this movie. I saw it 28 times in its original release, 3 times at the drive-in, so 31 times in its... Okay. Seen it many times. I just watched it again because I just got the new 4K Blu-ray, which looks fantastic, by the way, and made me remember... Do you remember this fan theory that went viral a few years ago about the movie Grease, which was that the whole movie takes place in Sandy's head, that she actually dies at the beginning. Okay, she drowns.
That's weird. No, I've never heard such a thing.
You've never heard this? Okay. Well, okay, the theory, hypothesis, whatever you want to call it, is that she died in the beginning, she drowned, and the whole movie is what's going through her mind as she's dying. And it's,
no, and I don't like it.
And now, if you remember how the movie ends with after the Sandy
car flying off.
Right. Well, Sandy turns into the she puts on the leather and everything, and
which she had to be sewn into.
Exactly. I watched it with the choreographer commentary, and she mentioned that. So yeah, so they get into this car, they're singing "We Go Together," and then the car ascends into the clouds. And it's also, if you notice, it isn't the real Grease Lightning car, it's the Grease Lightning car from the song. If you remember that, the red car which they're singing about, which isn't the real car, which was in the race, because the car in the race is actually white and it's got stripes on it. I mean,
lightning bolts.
Lightning bolts, thank you, on the side. So it harkens back to the dream sequence, which ties it all together in a neat little bow. Well, somebody came up with this idea and posted it on the internet. It went all over the place.
More plausible.
Okay.
How is it that they spent this entire summer together, and she doesn't know what hometown he's from, or what high school he attends, and all of a sudden it's a shock she ends up in the United States, in the same town, same high school, and it's a surprise?
Okay, valid point. I can see this as an explanation. I'm not sure that it is the explanation, but I could accept it. He was probably telling her a whole story about who he was, and I think he was probably putting on.
He was Danny Zuko. He didn't need to.
Oh, really? Okay, that's
Although
a good point.
Yes. He apparently was a much nicer, well-behaved young man around her. But no. I would think that a summer together, y'all would know what town you're from.
You'd think. Well, they were so busy
just
bowling.
throwing it out there.
They
skipping,
walked in the
hanging
sand.
out under the dock.
Under the dock, yeah. But so the fan theory did get back to John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, who both commented separately. They commented that they thought it was hilarious. And Travolta just said something like, I'm not going to put too much stock into it because I was there from the beginning, because he was in it on Broadway a few years before it was a movie. So, but to me, that sort of sidesteps the question, because the movie isn't necessarily the play. So the end of the movie could be, the director could have had that in his head outside of the play.
It'd be tougher to have a car flying up in the air on a stage. Just saying.
Well, that's true. That's true also. But why do we think so? So explain the ending then. What happens there? Why are they flying up into the clouds and everybody's happy about it?
I always thought that was silly. But they didn't ask me.
Yeah, they didn't. They should have. And then we wouldn't be having this conversation.
I had that whole thing memorized.
The whole movie?
I could have sat there. Sound could have gone out. I would have done the entire dialogue in every song. I went on a convention with my parents. Had to bring my little record player and my album.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did.
It's a lot dirtier than I remember it being, and I think
is
dirtier.
The whole hickey from Kinnicky.
Well, there's that, but there's also like the in Grease Lightning, the song Grease Lightning. Mm-hmm. It's the chicks will cream. It's
yes.
There's a couple of lines like that.
She's a real wagon.
There you go. Thank you. Although there was a radio version where she's a real something wagon. I forget what it was.
Yes.
Right. The one they played on the radio was different.
Well, of course.
Because God knows where we would be if we'd heard that kind of language on the radio as kids.
House too small to be 5